Welcome everyone. Well, we've got a new setup today. This is live, so we're in the office. And I thought, let's just try something different, something new. So, welcome to lecture 16. We made a bit of a change in the plan. We were going to do the keto lecture, but now we're going to be doing the client setup, the client management, planning fat loss journey, achieving goals, and finishing up with the client. So there are 5 distinct phases that we're going to be covering in this lecture. So let's kick things off from the first point of contact, okay? So your first point of contact, after that, then it is first call post collecting fees, what to discuss. Then we will discuss data collection, and then we will go on to second call post setup, what to discuss. Okay, now if you see, why I have mentioned here is post collecting fees is very important. The reason why I've said that is, prior to this, things could take forever. See, I'm so busy. I rarely negotiate with people. I'll negotiate a little bit maybe if they want to negotiate on fees, but I generally send them my fees, and if they're keen, they can sign up. If not, that's fine. I can move to the next person. Now, if you have limited clients, okay, you don't have limited leads or limited prospects, so you might just need to sort of get on a call with everyone. In an ideal world, you always want to get on a call with the person so you can actually build some rapport, discuss, gain some trust. These are very important factors, but that is for sell like a boss, how to convert clients, all that. So we'll get to that when we do the sell like a boss, if you are part of that. So, but anyway, let's talk about the first call post collecting fees, what to discuss. And this is very, very important. So if I bring this down here to say things to discuss on your first call. So discuss what the client can expect, laying the ground rules, moving further down, explain how you work, explain the data collection process, explain the check-ins, explain how the client can ask questions, explain your turnaround time to address their questions, explain expectations of them. All these are very, very important things. So let's just get into this. Discuss what the client can expect, laying the ground rules. So, when a client, I don't do this with everyone. I did with a client this morning, this woman who wants to lose 25 kilos. And so I got on a call and explained the entire process, so what to expect. Most of my conversations are via text, on WhatsApp or Messenger. I don't generally get on a call unless I really need to. Simply because I'm just so busy, and I'm not saying that this is what you should do. If you take my advice would be is after you've collected the money, it's best to get on a call, because what that does is, again, it's about building trust. It's also about getting to understand the client's psyche, understand the psychology. Because your results are going to come if the more a client is going to buy into your process, the more he's going to listen to you, and the better the results will be. So discuss what the client can expect is. So some of the things that I would discuss with the client is, if I got on a call, I'd be like, okay, your check-ins. Okay, your check-in is, you can have a check-in day whenever you want. You can have a check-in day on Monday, you could have a check-in day on Sunday. It's between you and your client. If you have 10, 15, 20 clients, or less than that, or even less than 40, 50 clients, my advice would be is to keep your check-ins on Saturdays. So the client sends in your check-in, and you ask and you tell them, okay, I'm going to take 24 hours to send your plans, or 16 hours, or 12 hours, whatever it is. My advice is, if your turnaround time is somewhere between sort of 4 to 8 hours, tell them you'll take somewhere between sort of 12 hours. And with check-ins, I tell them, okay, your check-ins are going to be first thing in the morning. So when you get up, I want you to take your photos, empty stomach, your weight, empty stomach. Now, I know a lot of people are against weighing yourself every day because it's such a head fuck, but I have found that getting clients to weigh in every day is the way to go. So what I do is with clients who've got a lot of weight to lose, and if they're okay with it, if it's not going to screw with their head, I'll get them to weigh every day. And if I've got females, and I'll also sort of get them to sort of tell me if they're approaching their periods, if they're in the middle of the periods, or if they're post periods or whatever, because that can, if you've got a female client and she's not menopausal, she could easily be 2-3 kilos heavier if she's approaching her periods or she's in the middle of the periods. So that's very important information to collect. Again, you have to be sensitive about it. Don't be a jerk, for the lack of a better word. So you collect that information, you tell them, okay, then when they send you the check-in on Saturday, you want to see what their weight has been across 7 days. So then you can take the average of weight loss, because they easily could have lost 1 kilo, 2 kilos in the previous week. And if on Friday night, if they've eaten too much, if they drank too much water, or they've been constipated, they could easily be 1 kilo heavier the next morning or not show any weight loss at all. So at least you can see across 7 days what the average is. And so that's the check-in process, explaining how your check-ins work, explaining to your clients that, say, the turnaround time, whatever turnaround time is, always tell them a few extra hours. It's always sort of better to under-promise and over-deliver. Besides that, you also want to tell them, what is your turnaround time to answer the question. So if they send a question, how quickly can they expect a reply? So you're generally going to get two kinds of questions, which are non-urgent and urgent. For urgent ones, if I've got my contest prep clients, or if a person's got serious health issues, then I allow them to even call me. Or if you've got an alternate number, or you've got an alternate system, like, hey, like say for instance, with some of my clients, all the check-ins come in via the messenger, and if they really need to get hold of me urgently, they can WhatsApp me. If it's extremely urgent, I don't reply, I'll tell them to call me. So that's between you and your client. Again, it comes down to how busy you are, what level of service you're going to provide. But whatever you do, try to remain consistent. And over the years, I've been culprit of not being consistent with my clients, not replying to them on time. And that will happen if you're an extremely busy coach. I don't care who you are. If you've got 250 clients, you are going to screw up every now and then. But ultimately, it's a law of averages. In sometimes when I've not managed to service the client as well as I would have liked, I've extended their coaching for free. I've given them, say, bonus periods. Worst case, even return their money sometimes, and that happens. But try not to do that, just because I've been doing it, so don't do it. So laying the ground rules, and also at the same time, you want to sort of lay the expectations of your client. What you expect of them. Tell them, okay, if you're sending me a check-in at 12 p.m., don't expect to get the plans till next day. Your check-in time is, have a mutually agreed time. If the client's not, so if the client's doing night shift and finishes at 5 a.m., you can't expect them to be sending check-ins at 8 a.m. They might send you a check-in as soon as they get home, or they get up and then send a check-in. But just be a little mindful. But lay down the ground rules, what to expect of your clients in terms of adherence and follow-up and all that sort of stuff. Explain how you work, what your strategy is. Explain the data collection process as well. This is where you would also tell, like, okay, before, so after this call, I'm going to send you a list of questions. I want you to fill them out. Once you sort of sent me all that information, I'm going to take all that information into account when I'm designing a diet plan. And that could be like, they could have certain food allergies, they might be vegetarian, they might be vegan, all those things you want to sort of tell them, like, I'm going to send you a list of questions. Once you send those back to me, I'm going to take everything into account. I'm going to make you a plan, and I'm going to send those plans to you. And once you've gone through everything, we will again get on a call, and I'll answer and address any questions you might have, and we'll go from there. So you essentially have two calls. One is the setup call, tell them to sort of cover all these things what I'm mentioning here. And second is once you've sent them the plans. That's the ideal way to do it. Now, as I said earlier, a lot of times I don't do it. I just simply, send them to, and most of my communication is via writing, text messages. And worst case is on a call. So sometimes people do want to meet me before they start, 99% times I refuse, simply because it's not time friendly for me. Very rarely there is something that I can't understand or explain or resolve on the call. I can always sort of understand most things and explain most things via a call. Like this morning, a gentleman called me and he wants to start his prep. He wanted to come and meet me. I said, hey, let's get on a call first. And if you still, he only lives locally, and if you still need to sort of meet me, I'm happy to meet you. He's paying good money. So sometimes you do have to make exceptions. Somebody paying, 30, 40,000 rupees a month, they probably want to meet you and sort of, see if you're legit. So I can understand that, but if somebody just wants to pay me 10, 15K a month, I generally avoid meeting them. I tell them like, hey, I'm going to be in so-and-so place at an expo or somewhere. You're welcome to come and meet me. That's cool. But try respecting your time. Don't just, start meeting people willy-nilly, because time is money. And I see a lot of people wasting so much time on unnecessary phone calls and sitting and yapping away. And that's your call, but it's up to you. So you explain to them how you work, blah, 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 how you're going to tell them, how you send your plans, are you going to be sending your plans via Excel sheet, via a Word document, via WhatsApp, whatever it is. So explain to your clients what the process is, what to expect, so they know. And my strong word of advice is, if you want to make a lot of money, my advice is don't just send plans on a WhatsApp, be responsible. So if I could go here and I could show you quickly here. So let me show you how somebody's like, I'm going to sort of open the sheet here, and then I can show you how I send plans, so then you get a good appreciation of how I do things. So let me just show you this. So this is how I would send the plans, so like with this client, what I want them to be doing, there's the start date here, and when the next check-in is, or this is the date, how much cardio I want them to do, the abs, what their meals are, like meal 1, 2, 3, and in meal 4 and 5, this is meals, say for instance, and this is I can see their meal 5, meal 6, the cheat meal. Then you can see there's some training notes here, what I want to training notes 2. Then there's some dietary notes, food notes, other notes like you can move your foods however you like, other cardio instructions, anything else. So whatever you do, you want to do it professionally. If you're going to be charging a lot of money to a client, don't just send them on a WhatsApp. You could. I know a lot of coaches, a lot of trainers, they operate via a WhatsApp. That's not something that I strongly I suggest you to do. You can invest in a laptop. Most laptops don't cost 15, 20,000. You can buy a second hand. At least you're professional that way. So explain the check-ins, how the check-ins work. Explain how the client can ask questions, which I just already covered. Explain your turnaround time to address their questions. Explain your expectations of them. And so once you've done that, away you go. So then comes the next stage, and you address all the questions and concerns. So now let's go through this is information and data collection. So this is the questionnaire I would send. I have a lot bigger questionnaire as well, which I could probably I'll share that with you guys. I have a lot bigger questionnaire that I use with my clients. So if I were to sort of show you here, I could. Let me just give you 1 second. So check-in questions. So I'm going to sort of put this on a screen here in a second, and I'm happy to share that with you as well. So just bear with me. So this would be my startup questions. As you can see, this is very comprehensive. Like, please read everything, because I don't have time. I just do not have time. That's how busy I am. I'll put everything here. Please read everything carefully and answer everything properly, as I unfortunately don't have time to repeat myself. Do not send PDFs of your blood reports. Send your reports via screenshot, okay? Then all pictures in proper bodybuilding or men's physique, whatever you compete in. If you're a competitor, if you're a non-competitor, do the best you can. Don't stress. Then I'll even go for competitors. No selfies or in poor lighting ever. No communication or sending of anything on WhatsApp unless you don't have a Facebook Messenger. thank you. That would be their startup questions. Then your this is your goal, your age, married, children. This is important because if you're working with a lot of enhanced guys, people who want to use PEDs, drugs, so you want to know if they're married or if they've got kids, so you can advise them accordingly. You know? If targeting a comp, which comp? It's important for me, being a contest prep coach, what comp are they're targeting, when the comp is, when is that your current pictures all in proper poses, and good lighting and no selfies ever, checking current weight and height, vegetarian, no, current diet, give me a sample if you're daily eating, current supplements, any health issues, any blood reports, any steroids being currently used, if yes, then details please, any previous use, then details, current training split, anything else you feel would help me to help you better, last stage pictures, if they've competed, category they competed in, last stage weight if they've competed, who was the previous coach, why are you leaving him? Do you owe him any money? Does he know you're leaving him? Because reason why I asked that question is because, I mean, I'm friends with a lot of people in the industry. Say for instance, if Gurdesh's client was coming to me or Arun Bhattacharya's client was coming to me and I didn't know, and I would extend the courtesy, I would like call Gurdesh or I would call Arun or I would call people that I'm friends with like, hey, your client is coming to wants to sort of work with me. Are you okay? I mean, sometimes the people owe other people money. You don't have to do it. You don't owe anybody any explanation, any answers. I mean, hey, a person's coming to you. You're well within your right to take the person. But that's just that's a personal call. I like to run a very tight ship. I like my reputation. I attach a lot of value to my name. It's just a personal preference. So then I want to know if you owe them any money. And I'll often pick up a phone and call them. Hey, your client wants to come and work with me. Are you okay for me to take them on? 99% of the times people are going to say, yeah, they might give you some warning about them. Hey, dude owes me money or he's like this, blah, blah, blah. And then it's my prerogative whether I want to take them on or not. Then I'll send them basic blood tests for men, what I want them to get done. Like in this instance, CBC, fasting blood glucose, total thyroid, total liver profile, total kidney profile. I want them to do EGFR as well. Total lipid profile, very important. Then I want to see the total testosterone, free testosterone, semen analysis, LH, FSH, estrogen, all these things. Then I also want to see their vitamin D levels. I'll get them to thyroid as well. Depending on if in some instances I might get them to do HbA1c as well. Fasting blood glucose is there. All these things. So if you've already got the blood test done, then just send those reports. And if anything, blah, blah, blah. So all this information I send them. I tell them sort of read it carefully. So this is very important. In other instances, if you want to use a simpler one, then you can simply ask them what the name is, the goal, the age, the city. It's important where they're from, their height and their weight. This is for general fat loss people. Then goal, what the goal is. And that was a contest prep questionnaire, okay? Because for this, any time frame you're working with is replaced by when your next comp is. So that gives me a time frame. So here I might say, okay, any time frame we're working with, then that gives me, if they want to lose sort of say 10 kilos and they give me 4 weeks, well then I know, okay, I've got my work cut out, then I would explain to them accordingly, hey, lightest they've been since the age of 16. This is very important. Like say I had a client, she's 87 kilos and she's 5'3" tall. And she wants to get in around sort of 55, 56 kilos, around below 60. So it's very important for me to know that has this person been fat throughout their life? Were they suffering from childhood obesity, whether it genetically or whether it's just abundance of food and there was no tab on it? That I don't know, but it gives me an idea of like this girl, woman who came, she was 53 kilos at the age of 15. So that tells me at the age of 16 to 18, that tells me she didn't have any childhood obesity issues. It's just that life got in the way and she got fat and she's 25. So this is important. I mean, you might have your own set of questions. That's up to you. Current diet, I want to know what the current diet is. I'll tell them, like in the first call, I'll tell them, okay, send me, what you're eating, your lifestyle, what time you get up, all this sort of stuff. I want to know the current diet is not only limited to whether they're vegetarian, non-vegetarian, or vegan. Current diet for me is I want to know what their routine is like, what their breakfast is, what their lunch is, what their what their dinner is, what their supper is, what their brunch is, all those things, what their snacks are. Your best results are always going to come if you are a coach who can make your diet and training and cardio around your client's existing lifestyle and eating habits. So if a person's already used to eating beef and they love beef, it's a lot easier for you to get them to switch from fatty cut of meat to leaner cut. If a person has never eaten fish in their life and they hate fish, doesn't matter how good fish is for them, and if you put fish in their diet plan, they're not going to follow it. So your best diet plans are always going to be around the person's existing lifestyle, existing habits, food habits. I see so many Indians hiring Western coaches, and when they get their diet plans, I get a lot of other coaches, clients come to me, and I've had clients of, you can think with every single international coach, I've had the clients come to me. You can think of anybody from Chris Aceto to Dave Palumbo to Hani to, not Hani, but many of the other guys like your Omar, Ventura, all these guys. Like, I'm sure my clients go to other coaches, but that's just circle of life. If you've been in this game for long enough, that's going to happen. And I see these guys have given the Indian clients like tilapia and yams and all those things, and barramundis and all that, and in some instances, wild bison meat. Dude, this is India. You're not going to get any of that stuff. So what that tells me, this is just cookie cutter plans. People are just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to send this, and they think you hire a foreign coach, and the foreign coach is going to work some magic, when the reality is not really. It's just that he's going to give you those food choices, which are far more expensive, and you'll be like spending a small fortune just to source those foods. Then I want to know their current training, their current cardio, how much, if they're already doing 2 hours of cardio and they're eating 1,000 calories, well, something's amiss. So this is very important to sort of make a summary, understand what the person is doing. Then the current supplements, I want to know what supplements they're taking. And you'll be surprised, in the current supplements, even with natural clients, I've had people sort of share they were on Cleint, T3, and even in some instances AMP and DNP as well. So don't be surprised. Even with natural clients, so make sure you ask them the current supplements or any drug use. You can add that as well. Then it's how much time can be dedicated to training per week, how much time can be dedicated to cardio per week, because this is important. You want to know, training they might only be able to do sort of 4 or 5 sessions, a week, and because they have to go to the gym. Cardio, there's no limit, because they can go to they can pound the pavement anywhere. One sec, guys. So you want to know how much cardio can they do, because the cardio is something they can do outside as well. So all these things, how much time they can dedicate to that per week. Then a level of motivation. This is very important to understand. If you've got a client who's highly motivated, or for instance, if you look at the other way around, the client's goal is to lose sort of 8 or 9 kilos in 5 weeks, but the level of motivation is at 7, not going to work. उनको पूछो मुझे आना पड़ेगा. I'm in the middle of a lecture, उनको बता दो. So level of motivation on a scale of 1 to 10, so that's important. So request any previous blood tests if they've done any previous blood tests. That's, again, it goes down to understanding they're getting the full profile. If my best advice is to tell them to go and see a healthcare professional. If they are, it's always best, in my opinion, it's always best to send them to their healthcare professional, because you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor. You can still give them a list of blood tests, like which is what you already laid out earlier. You can get them to do all the blood tests, but don't go on reading or trying to interpret or analyze the blood test yourself, because you're not a doctor and nor am I. So even when I see the blood test, and if something's in red or something's out of whack, I'll simply say to them, go and see your go and see your healthcare practitioner. I'm not a doctor, and nor do I pretend to be. Again, any health issues, you want to know if they've got any injuries or anything. You could have a client, they've got a severe back issue, and you put deadlifts in their workout plan, or you want them to be doing heavy squats when they can barely sit up straight. So any prescription meds, it's very important. So like a person might say, okay, hey, I'm on amlodipine, or I'm on Concor, or whatever. Those are BP meds, and you've got them doing sort of jumping jacks and shit. And so if they tell you any prescription meds, jump on Google, see what they are. Try to have an understanding of at least what they are. You also want to get in this. You also want to add the emergency contact, who you can you can contact in case you need to, and add anything else. I always ask this question: anything they would like to tell me in order for me to help them better. So they might share something, hey, I don't like this, or this has been an issue, I can't sleep, or whatever it is. So they might tell you something that might play a significant role in you altering your strategy or plan or whatever. So these are some of once you've sort of gotten all that, and then what you do is you go away, you make their diet plans, you make their training plans, you make the cardio plans, you make the supplement plans and whatever it is, and then you send it to them. So once you've sent the plans to them, you tell them, I want you to go through these plans carefully. I want you to write down all the questions and send them across to me. So there's two reasons I like my clients to sort of write their questions and send them across, is that often I will reply in writing, because then I know, I can get on a call, and I do get on a call as well. So I'll send them the answers in writing, so I remember, it's documented. I can quickly scroll up and I can see, okay, this is what I told them to do. So if you've told them something on call and you don't remember, you didn't write it down, then you've got a problem, because you can't remember 20 different people's what you told them a month ago, let alone a week ago. Even with a single client, you might not remember what you told them. So make sure you if you are going to get on a call, make sure you make your notes and you send them the same information via writing as well. So you send them the plan, get them to send them all the questions in writing. You've got the questions, get on a call, explain to them everything, answer all those questions. With training, one of the key things I want you to remember is, one of the things where a lot of the beginner or intermediate clients come unstuck is they will often ask you, hey coach, what weight do you want me to lift for these particular number of repetitions or for this set? The answer to that question is, I always give my repetition recommendations are always between 8 to 12, or 14 to 16, 18 to 20, whatever. It's always a bracket. So what you want is, let's say you've given them recommendations of 8 to 10 reps, okay, per set. So what I tell them is, once you've done your warm-up sets, when you get to your work sets, explain to them what are warm-up sets, what your field sets are, then what your work sets are. Once you've done that, you tell them, okay, once you get your work sets, I want you to pick that weight that allows you to do a minimum of, say, 6 repetitions, but ideally stay above 8, especially in the beginning weeks, in the early weeks. But I don't want you to sort of pick a weight that you're able to, if your bracket is 8 to 10 reps, I don't want you to get a weight that you're doing 14, 15 repetitions. So stay 10% up or down. So if the bracket is 8 to 10, pick a weight that allows you to get at least 7 reps. If it's 6, then maybe you need to drop a weight a little bit. But by the same token, you're not pumping at 13, 14 reps. So if the 10 is the upper limit, maybe 11 or 12 in the early stages, in the beginner phase, in the first acclimatization phase, or your GPP phase, which is general preparation phase. The reps are always slightly higher, especially if they're learning a new movement. But that's we'll cover that in detail when we talk about training. So you explain to them everything, explain to them about the supplements, whatever questions they have, explain to them about the diet, the training, the cardio, what sort of cardio you want them to do. So I get my clients to do just 15 minutes of steady state cardio, just get them into routine kind of a thing. with the diet also. And this is very, very important. So what I want them to do is, so if we go further down here, you will see things to discuss and I've explained, or we already covered that. So let me explain to you planning for their, so let's assume for a minute this is the goal, okay? You've got a general fat loss client. They need to lose 25 kilos. Then what you want to do is you want to explain to them the time frame needed, explain what your expectations and your goals are for each phase. Now, this is as much a learning opportunity for you as it is for you to explain to their clients. So if you don't learn what I'm about to teach you, you're not going to be able to explain to your clients because you yourself don't know how to plan a 25 kilo weight loss. So 25 kilo or like any substantial weight loss, which is more than 5 or 7 kilos generally, or definitely above 10 kilos, for most people is not going to happen in one go. I mean, it can, but that's not how it's done. I'll explain to you exactly why. If you remember from the earlier lectures, I very specifically tell people, when you are guiding your clients, don't get them to lose any more than 0.5% to 0.75, at the most 0.8% of their given weight at any given point in time per week. So let's say if you've got an 80 kilo client, what should their weekly weight loss look like? Probably somewhere between sort of like around 600 grams a week. So because 600 grams is 0.75% of 80 kilos. So target somewhere between 0.5 to 0.75, at the most 1%. Only times you would go more than 1% of their weight is in extreme goal settings, like, and that also not more than 2%. And in extremely rare cases, as I said, you know, when you're working outside the norm, outside the normal settings, then all bets are off. You know, I've had clients who need to lose even 3% of their weight a week. So 3% would be, for an 80 kilo person would be 2.5 kilos a week. So, but that's in extreme settings, which we cover in extreme dieting, and I'll cover all those in upcoming lectures and address everything in detail. But for this, tell your client you should be expecting somewhere between 0.5 to 0.75% weight loss per week. So if we have like, say I had a client and she is 87 kilos, she needs to get down to, her goal weight is she wants to be down to, you know, 56, 57 kilos. She wants to lose 20 kilos. Now, if she wants to stabilize at 56, 57 kilos, she will need to go down to 52, 53 kilos so that she can actually stabilize at 56, 57 kilos. I'll come to that in a minute, but let me just explain this to you. So if we look at conservatively, so let's say she needs to lose at least 20 kilos. Tell her to lose 20 kilos, bare minimum, she's got to look at 40 weeks, bare minimum. That's the best case scenario. Because weight loss is not linear. She will lose, she will put some weight, she puts a weight on, she's away for a holiday, she takes a break, whatever. It's never linear. Even in best case scenario, it's not going to be linear. Linear means one sliding scale down or up or whatever. It's not linear. It's always zigzag up or down. So in her case, since if she wants to stabilize at 56, 57 kilos, and she's 87 kilos today, guess what? For me, I have to take, as per my coaching philosophy and what my experience is. You might speak to other coaches, they might have a different strategy, but I'll tell you what works the best in physique transformation and what you should do as well. So I told her, I said, like, I need to get you down to 52 kilos if you want to stabilize at 56, 57. So for 25 kilos, I told her, give or take a few, give yourself 50 weeks. Okay, half a kilo a week, that's your best case scenario. And as I said, it's not linear. It could easily take a lot longer. It can take lesser also, but doesn't happen very often. So she knows, okay, it's going to take a year. So she's clear in her head. Then I also told her, I said, why losing any more than 0.75% or at the most 1% per kilo, the downside and the risks of that. And this is for your knowledge as well, so you can explain that to your future clients. You tell them, the downside is with rapid weight loss, I'm not against it, but it's just that much harder because your risk of losing muscle increases significantly, because you're eating such low calories, you're not getting all the micronutrients, you're not getting all the vitamins and minerals, you're not feeding your body all the nutrients. So the risk of your muscle loss increase significantly, because with extreme dieting, your testosterone level is going to drop, your cortisol is going to increase, your sleep is going to get compromised. So when you combine all this cascade of things, the risk of your muscle loss along with losing fat increases substantially. So that's one reason. Second reason is, when you've got a person losing 1 kilo to 2 kilos a week, then, and this is again strictly anecdotally speaking, maybe I don't know of any evidence, but what I've observed in my personal coaching over the last 20 years plus is, when people lose a lot of weight really fast, what happens is their risk of getting loose skin around the stomach and arms and everywhere else increases significantly, because the body is not getting the chance, the skin is not getting the chance to adapt to that weight loss. So if you're losing 2-3 kilos a week, the body is not going to get a chance to the skin is not going to get the opportunity to regain its elasticity and gradually adapt to the new vacant space, so to speak, for the lack of a better explanation. So tell them how much. So my advice is, somebody wants to lose 25 kilos, half a kilo a week is good for most people. But the better way to plan your fat loss or weight loss is by the percentage method, which I've covered earlier, 0.5 to 0.75%. We explain the time frame, all this sort of stuff, explain what your expectations are and your goals are for each phase. So let's get into your guys' understanding how you should be understanding this, what you should be looking to get out of your client, and then you can lay your expectations to your clients. So week 1, what do you want them to achieve and focus on? If I'm looking at a sort of 1-year fat loss journey, I'm not looking for any miracles in week 1. Not at all. I'm not looking for even any weight loss. Nothing at all. All I'm looking for in week 1 is these are the 5 things. This is what I'm looking for. Your week 1, week 2, week 3, the first 4 weeks will set the tone for the rest of the year. And that's to everybody. In week 1, all I'm looking for is ease, adherence, ease, continuity, uniformity, routine of everything. That is all I'm looking for. Adherence means I'm going to give them to just be able to follow the plan. Just adhere to it. Number 2, ease. It should be easy for them to follow. If it's complex, it's difficult, they're not going to follow. They're going to fall off not even before the week is over. Number 3 is I'm looking for continuity. So they can continue that plan. There's some rhythm to it. There's some routine to it. Uniformity means if I want them to, I can tell my clients, like with this lady, I told her, hey, you don't have to weigh everything. Just as long as you're using the same utensils. Like if you're eating 4 cups of rice, I want to use the same cups every day. So I'm looking for uniformity. They make sure they're using the same brand of bread. You're using the same utensils. Using the same measurers. So I'm looking for uniformity. So then I'm looking for a pattern. I'm looking for a client to have, okay, this is my glass that I use to drink my milk. Okay, you want to drink. And then the first week, I tell them routine. Okay, what time are you going to bed? Have some sort of routine. You're trolling internet at 1 o'clock in the morning and you have to get up at 6 a.m. to go to your office. Not going to happen, you know. So again, I want a routine. I want uniformity. I want continuity. I want ease. It should be easy to follow. I want adherence. Can they follow the plan? So the golden rule, very important, is I tell them, I said, for the first 8 to 10 weeks, forget about any weight loss. Forget about it, you know. At least definitely for the first 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that you will not lose any weight or you will not lose any body fat after the first 2 weeks, but that's not a goal. The active fat loss, weight loss period comes after week 8 or week 10. So I'll come to that in a minute. So what I want is I tell them, hey, if you feel the hunger of eating 3 cups of rice, you can eat 3. If I've given you 2 cups, that's fine. You want to eat 3 cups, eat 3 cups. You want to eat 4 cups of rice at night time, eat 4 cups. Just as long as there is a rhythm, there is continuity, use the same utensils, and if I've given you 4 pieces of toast in the morning, you want to eat 6, eat 6 pieces of toast. I have no problems. You want to eat 5 eggs, eat 5 eggs. So if you want to sort of change, then I also explain to them, if they want to sort of change from rice to sweet potato, then they will need to know the measurements, okay? Then the volume alone, then the cups are not going to work on its own. So you cannot replace a cup of rice with a cup of sweet potato and think it's the same number of calories. That's not how it works. So if they want to replace foods, then they will need to weigh their food, and let's say they got 100 grams of rice, and if 100 grams of rice has got 100 calories, for the ease of explanation, then they might need to eat 200 grams of sweet potato to get the same 100 calories. So if you want to switch foods, in that instance, you will need to weigh and know what exactly you're eating, and then you can jump on whichever app you want to use, say, let's say calorieking.com.au, and say, okay, if I want to eat 200 calories worth of rice, okay, what are my carbs? And I also tell my clients, again, that's what you should do as well, as per me. Tell them, I don't want you to obsess about the ratios of the protein, fats, and carbs, because with your protein, I want you to focus on hitting a chicken and fish and whatever. Vegetarians will come to that vegetarians when we talk about do the vegetarian lecture. But I tell them, I don't want you to sweat the small stuff up with the ratio of carbs and fats. So if, let's say, your rice has got 20 grams of carbs and 4 grams of fat, and your sweet potato has got 18 grams of carbs and 6 grams of fat, doesn't matter, just as long as the same calories. So that's just an illustration, okay? So don't take it literally, because there's not much fat in either, if there is any at all. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm sort of looking, okay, so I want you to, at the end of the week, I want you to sort of calculate how many cups of rice did you eat in that week, how many eggs you ate, how many pieces of bread you ate, how many glasses of milk you ate. So I am looking for a week's worth of food. And then I want them to do the same thing next week. So then whatever challenges they had, so we address those challenges in week 2, 3, and 4. So for the next 3 weeks, we iron out. And for the first 3 to 4 weeks, I am just looking to establish their maintenance calories. I want to know, okay, where's the sweet spot? So how much food can they really handle before they start putting weight on? And in the first 3 or 4 weeks, I do not want my client to be going hungry. I want them to feel full. I want them to feel satiated. I want them to feel energetic. I don't want them to feel like, shit, I'm already starving, because I'm also trying to get them to train also. So for the first 4 weeks, my training goal is to get them into the routine, get them into the rhythm, so they can master their exercise. So they've got into a routine. Okay, same with training. Starting them on a lower intensity, lower level of difficulty. Then we can build it up. Rome wasn't built in a day. So for the first 4 weeks, I'm just looking to sort of get them in some sort of routine. Now, once I've got a pattern, once I know, okay, they ate, say, 30 cups of rice last week, they ate sort of 30 pieces of bread, they ate 40 pieces of this, say 7 glasses of milk, or say 14 cups of tea in a week. Then once I've done that, I'll sort of try to maybe sort of adjust so they're not mindlessly putting weight on. But my goal is not weight loss in the first 4 weeks. If they happen to lose it, that's great. But I tell them, and they know it. And that's why my clients get such good results, because they buy what I'm selling. And I deliver on my result. I deliver on what I say. So when they buy what you're selling and then you live up to your word, you're king. Because at the end of the day, that woman who's paying me 20,000 rupees a month in a year, I want to get her from point A to point B, because she's come with a reference. So she knows that's why she's here. She's paying 20K a month. So I'm going to take her there. So first you've got to sell whatever you're selling. You've got to sell it with conviction and with clarity. If you don't know what you're talking about, your client's not going to buy. Imagine if you had an experienced client, then you're going to look like a fool. So I explain to them. Then after we've done that, and then I tell them, okay, then we're going to get into the active. For the first 8 weeks, I just want them to get their training to train like a machine, train like an athlete. So goal is for the first 2 to 3 months, I want you to get your training to a pro level, where you go to the gym and you're pushing yourself hard, because that creates a lot of mental toughness. If you get your clients, you try to get them to train hard from the word go, what's going to happen? Then, and if you cut calories at the same time, the client is going to be confused that if their lack of performance in the gym is because of it's a new program, they're unfit, or it's just like way too low calories. You'll never know, and they will never know. So what I do is I eliminate the lesser calorie issue from the word go. I said, okay, I'm going to give you as much food as you need, even more than what you need, but for a short period of time. But I want you to focus on building solid training platform. So once they've done that for 8 to 10 weeks, I tell them, okay, your first active fat loss phase will come from 8 to 10 weeks onwards. Now, this is not to say you won't start to get results sooner. You very well might, and often people do, but again, promising less, delivering more. So I tell them, okay, from your first active fat loss phase is going to come from start from week 8 or 10 or week 12. So somewhere in that 4-week window. And when we do start active fat loss phase, what's going to happen is, depending on first, I'm going to try to sort of increase your caloric output, which might be via a higher training volume if the program allows, or by adding some cardio. Now, once we have exhausted adding more work to you, because adding more work is directly correlated to your recovery and how much work you can actually do. If you're working 12 hours a day, you might not be able to do it, and secondly, even if you could, but it starts to interfere with your recovery, it's pointless. So, but the goal is always get your caloric output up as much as we can, and then we look at caloric intake decrease. So that means reducing your caloric intake. So I'll see how they go. If they're progressing, great. If not, then I'll look at maybe reducing the food. Again, the benefit here is if your client has been eating as per the volume and portions, then we know, okay, how much have you been averaging? How many cups of rice have you been averaging this week? Okay, over the last 10 weeks, about say 30 cups of rice. Okay, great. Next week, I want you to eat just 23 cups of rice. Great. Okay. Next week, I want you to, okay, how many glasses of milk have you been drinking every week? 14. Okay, I want you to just halve it and bring it down to 7. So whatever the carbohydrate and fat-rich foods are, those are the foods I start bringing down. Now, you can do it via saying giving them calories, via whatever way you want to do it. I'm saying the easiest and simplest way to work with lifestyle clients is this. This is the most foolproof and simplest way. You can do it by a billion different ways. Tell them, okay, I want you to eat these many macros. I want you to weigh your food. I want you to eat these many calories from this, blah, blah, blah. Now, I find it okay. Just keep a tab of what you're eating every week. And then don't even worry about, you want to reduce your daily. So if let's say a person is eating 6 cups of rice a day, I might say, okay, I want you to eat 4. Then, okay, you want to eat those 4 cups across 4 meals, or you want to eat those 4 cups at nighttime or morning or whatever. That's completely up to you. My objective, without going around in circles, you get the point, is my objective is to make my client's life as easy as possible and get them to understand how the weight loss works, how the calories work, because your weight gain is not driven by acutely by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Your weight gain is driven by what you do cumulatively over the course of the week, week in, week out, day in, day out. So I tell them, I want you to focus on your weekly food. Some people want to focus on daily, that's fine. Some people want to focus on 2 days, like on every meal. That's completely up to you. But for general lifestyle clients, let's say if you are allowed to eat 7 pieces of toast in a week, like 1 piece of toast a day, okay? And they might say, okay, you know what? Monday through to Wednesday is not a problem. It's the last 3 days is when I'm away. That's when I need to sort of eat something, a good breakfast on Saturday morning, so I don't screw up my rest of my day. So then, do you mind if I don't eat any bread from Monday through to Friday and eat all my 6 pieces of toast on Saturday? Sure, go for it. Because what's happened over the course of the week, the weekly calories, if they were supposed to be eating 14,000, if they ate 14,000 last week, and if you want to create calorie deficit next week, you want them to eat sort of 13, let's say you want them to be eating 1,800 calories a day versus 2,000 calories a day, okay? So if they were eating 2,000 and they're eating 14,000 calories in a week, and if you want them to have a calorie deficit of 1,400, I'm only concerned, did they eat less than 12,600 calories at the end of the 7 days? If they did, doesn't matter whether they did it on via dropping calories in 1 day or across 3 days or across 7 days. No, I don't care. you know. Just as long as they're eating with the protein, my recommendations to my clients is that stuff I want you to be eating every 4 hours at least, 3 times a day or 4 times a day. Rest is as far as the carbohydrates and your fats, you suit yourself, man. You want to eat all your bread at nighttime, cool, man. If you feel that your cravings all sort of kick in at nighttime and you can go to, like, see me, I am cool. I can go from morning till lunch without eating anything. So I want to enjoy my lunch, so I'll go home and I'll eat all my carbs at lunch. Okay, at night time I won't eat any carbs. Okay, or I cycle my carbs and I cycle my fats. When I say carbs and fats, my biggest meal is my lunch. My breakfast and dinner are all generally protein. So protein is something that I'll eat periodically, like every day. But as far as my carbohydrates and fats go, sometimes I'll go 3 days without eating any significant carbs or fats because I'm trying to save it up, because if like tomorrow I'm going home, I'm going to go and visit my mom. So today I'm not going to eat any carbs. I'm going to save that tomorrow for at my parents' house. So the point is, if you understand that your weight loss doesn't have to be driven by meal on a daily basis, you can look at it from a holistic, from a weekly standpoint, you're laughing. So that's that. So explaining that, okay? Then comes, okay, the phases. The first fat loss phase, generally it's going to be, you tell them, okay, what to expect. You're going to feel hungry. You're going to feel, you know, because you're cutting the carbs and fats. So they will feel all that. So you tell them. And how long generally the first fat loss phase would last? Somewhere between 2 to 4 months. Most people burn out after sort of 10 to 12 weeks. It's not sustainable, because for sustained fat loss, you need to keep creating consistent, regular, increasing calorie deficit, because body goes through adaptation. You know, you lower the calories, the body adapts, your hormones come down, your ghrelin goes up, your leptin comes down, all those things, and your fat loss slows down, your NEAT goes down, everything. So most of the fat, and you simply get sick and tired of freaking dieting. It's just simple, because sustained fat loss is increasingly demanding. So most of the time your fat loss, active fat loss phase, which starts as per my recommendations is around sort of week 8 onwards, will generally go somewhere between 2 to 4 months. What they can expect, again, if you go back to that, let's say their fat loss phase was 16 weeks, what can they expect? To lose somewhere between sort of like 8 to 10 kilos. 10 kilos in 16 weeks is pretty good. So if they lost 10 kilos in 4 months, they've done very well. So they've gone from 87 to 77. That's a great first phase. So now that you've done that for 4 months, then you might want to give them a diet break. Now in diet break, what's going to happen is you're going to have to bring their cardio down. You're going to have to increase their calories, take them to maintenance calories, which I taught you in the earlier lecture. Take them to maintenance calories. Now, when you decrease your caloric output and increase your caloric intake, what's going to happen? Your weight's going to go up. But you cannot allow mindless increase of weight. So what you do is, you say you've gone from, let's say, 87 down to 77 kilos. Tell your client it's okay and it's expected for your weight to go up by 2 to 3 to 4 kilos. Just as long as you do not go back to your starting weight or near your starting weight, then you just simply wasted four months of your life for no reason. So if you started at 87, you stopped at 77, you will go up to sort of say 80 kilos, 81. That's not bad. 3 kilos gain is acceptable. Any more than that is kind of like, in my opinion, it's way too much. So if they go up to 70, 71, 80, 81, cool. So then again, you start your second fat loss phase. You had a diet break, you reduced the cardio, they've had a bit of a break, they've enjoyed the foods, they've gone away for a holiday, they've come back. Okay, coach, we lost 10 kilos in our first phase, I'll put 3 kilos back on, can we start the journey again? Great, bingo. Second time around, you can start creating calorie deficit because they've had experience, they know what to do. You've been working with them for 6 months, right? So second time around, you don't have to worry about all these things. They know what to do, how to go about it. So then you can start getting the calorie deficit from day one, how you want to do it. Then the second fat loss phase, again, your goal should be is to achieve substantial results. You might only be able to achieve 8 kilos second time around. So when you take a next diet break after 4 months or 3 months, then let's say you've gone from, say, first time you went from 87 to 77 and you stabilize at, say, 80 kilos. And then the second phase, you start at 80 kilos and you go down to 72 kilos. So where should you stabilize for your second diet break? Somewhere around probably 73, 75 kilos. Let's say you stabilize at 75 kilos. That is still, you have an advantage of 5 kilos from where your earliest, second starting point. Again, you take a bit of a break, 3 to 4 weeks. Diet breaks generally can be anything between sort of 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, as I've covered earlier. So what you do is, you take a diet break, again, you jump back, you start, next time your starting weight is 75, you go down to, let's say, 66 kilos, you take a break, you go up to 68, 69, you do it again, you're down to, so you keep cycling, okay? Now, this, in an ideal world, we had planned for a 1-year weight loss. That can sometimes take a year and a half, it could take 10 months. That comes down to is how strong-minded a client is, how much time he or she has, what sort of results they're getting, how long their diet breaks have been, how much they abuse their diet breaks, how much weight do they put back on, n number of factors come in. But as for the strategy goes, that's your strategy. So let's say you've done these 3 or 4 cycles and you've got them down to, say, their desired weight of 56, 57. Great, you hit the goal that they wanted to. Here comes the biggest thing where 99% coaches go wrong and they get it wrong. What they don't understand is, if you want your client to stabilize at 56, 57 kilos or at whatever weight, you need to get them lower by at least 3 to 4 kilos, minimum 2 to 3 kilos. It will make your life infinitely easier and your clients' life infinitely easier for them to stabilize at the desired weight. So what I do is, if they've gone to 56, I said, okay, this is the most crucial part for the next 2 months. I need to get you down to 52 kilos. So I'll get her down to 52 kilos and I'll get my client down to 52 kilos and then I will reverse them out. Now, reverse dieting, we've covered earlier in the past, and everybody's got different viewpoints on reverse dieting. Some people like to put the calories back up to maintenance. Some people do it by reverse dieting, each to their own. And I have explained my viewpoints in earlier lectures of why I prefer reverse dieting and why I don't prefer putting calories straight up to maintenance. But anyway, that's for another day. Happy to have a discussion on that as well. So I'll gradually sort of increase their calories, gradually decrease their cardio, and it takes about somewhere between 2 to 5 kilos for a person to stabilize, to reach a reasonable level where where they only need to train for 45 minutes a day and they can eat reasonable amount of food and not starve. Yes, you need to sort of practice self-restraint. You can't just go start eating pizzas and burgers and think you're going to be okay because you've achieved. No, that's not how it works. A lot of people think that their body becomes like this fat-burning machine once they lose a few kilos. Oh my God, I'll put on 4 kilos, 5 kilos, and now my metabolism is through the roof. The metabolism actually doesn't go through the roof at all. When people have this massive misconception, you lose 25, 30 kilos, you put on a bit of muscle and your body becomes like a fat burning machine. It's actually the total opposite often. So you get them to sort of like gradually sort of decrease their cardio, decrease their training time, and average, you want your client to be training at least 4 to 5 hours a week, and get them up to reasonable maintenance calories. And from there onwards, if their weight goes above 56, 57, that should be a deliberate act. It should be that I want my weight to go up because I'm trying to sort of bulk up or clean bulk or add muscle, right? But if it's uncontrolled and unplanned, then you're doing something wrong or your client is doing something wrong. So the last part is, if you go down here, I had clearly mentioned, so you finish that. So in the end is reaching the final weight, how to stabilize, client guidelines, and making clients self-sufficient. So this is where you tell them, okay, Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith or whatever, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, and tell them, okay, now, so they know, explain to them, okay, if you want to maintain your weight here, you cannot go back to your old habits of like getting pissed every night and writing yourself off and Mondays are shit-faced, and you can't just knock off at 4 p.m. and then you're done at the pub and you're polishing off the entire pint after pint. That's not how it works. So you tell them, okay, if you want to maintain this weight, you only have to see the last 12, 15 months journey, how hard you worked. You cannot go back to your previous lifestyle. Yeah, you enjoy your odd cheat meal, whatever it is, and you tell them, okay, if you eat extra one day, then you know the deal. You drop the calories the next day, you drop the foods. So if you know you're going away on the weekend, then maybe, try to sort of drop your rice and pasta or whatever else on Thursday, Friday, and then you can sort of enjoy those couple of extra drinks on the weekend and eat a couple of pizzas extra. So it's about educating a client, teaching your clients, because ultimately my objective always is that I want my clients to learn. And I tell my clients, if you work with me for 6 months to 8 months or any significant amount of time, you should never really need another coach for the same thing, except unless you look for accountability and motivation. But if you're going to another coach for the same guidance, then you didn't learn anything. So you should always try to teach your clients. Trust me, it will get you so much business when you try to do things ethically. Honestly, I understand, a lot of my clients, when they ask me, okay, can I learn contest prep through coaching from you? No, you're not. You can't. And I don't have the time to answer every single question you have. But generally, if you empower your clients, they're going to get sustainable results and they'll come back to you. So when my clients who work with me for 8 to 10 to 12 months, they're often are pretty damn good at understanding what they need to do in order to get their client, in order to lose the weight. Now, if they still want to continue with me, it's not because of lack of knowledge. The only reason, and often people want to continue with me, is because they're looking for adherence. They're looking for accountability, looking for motivation. I had a client yesterday, Arlene, and she's my Aussie client, and when I left Australia back in 2018, she just messaged me last night, hey, Haz, I miss working with you, I've changed a couple of coaches since you've left, 3 coaches, and it just has never worked out. So it's very important that you build a strong rapport with your clients, educate them. And I understand I am guilty of this myself. I don't spend nowhere near as much time as I used to, or as I'm recommending you to, but you are not me. I am not you. My goals are different. I've done this for such a long time. I just don't have the time to spend them in. When you have 200 clients, I set expectations differently. So when clients start with me, I set expectations completely differently, so they know what they're signing up for. But if you are starting out, or if you're a new trainer in the industry, you've only been doing for 2, 3, 4 years, or you've only got 30, 40 clients, then my advice is put effort into it, because if you don't provide the service, the client's going to fall off, and then you end up having a bad name. I mean, it's happened to me. I have provided shit service in the past, and it hasn't been a pleasant experience. Client messaging and saying, you fucking suck. But that's just the reality of it. So, you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself. Learn from the mistakes that I have made and others have made. So provide quality service, be attentive, listen to your client's needs. So those are very important lessons. And as I said, there are a lot of things that I do in an ideal world which I wouldn't do if I had more time. But as I said, my goals are different. I've evolved. We are working on so many different things. But anyway, that's it for today's lecture. I was anticipating it to be just a 45-minute lecture, but it's obviously gone a lot longer because otherwise I wouldn't have done justice to it. So any questions, as always, comment below. Ask me whatever questions. I'll put up a separate post for Q&As. And I'll also share my check-in questions that I use for my clients. I'm happy to put the startup questions in the group as well. But yeah, so if you understand how to plan the fat loss journey and how do you go about it, and we obviously talk a lot more in depth when we start talking about like diet plans and how do you actually create those calorie deficit, how do you actually make the changes, how do you make increase the cardio, how do you give the diet breaks, So let's say you've got a client who needs to lose 10 kilos in 6 weeks. So how do you actually make those changes every week? How does it look? So yeah, all that's coming up in the upcoming lectures. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, so the Hindi lecture, unfortunately, I'll have to do it in a couple hours time. So I'll come back and I'll do it then. But hope all the English mob, you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you on the flip side. Thank you and bye for now.